What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Somewhat Sports Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by two of the greats in this industry, Jurg and Dame. Fellas, how are we this week? Thank you for filling in last week and steering the ship without me and doing such a marvelous job. But yeah, how are we this week? Jurg, start off with you.
I'm good. I'm happy. I'm back. The boys are back. It's been a little bit. We've had some inconsistency here. We've had shows where it's just
Mhm.
you two. We've had shows where it's just me and you, Chris. A show with me and Dame last week for baseball. I'm just happy the boys are back together. We need to get back in a little bit of a flow of things here, fellas. And I'm glad to see you made it out of your darkness retreat well, Chris.
Thank you.
Well, I've been better as I was last week, but doing well, I guess I would say. Um, Requesting my PTO now for a date in June,
Oh
just
Yeah,
so
boy,
you know,
for what, Dame? For what, by the way? What is it?
for another trip
Yeah,
scouting. What are you scouting for us?
for the Titans.
for
Oh Lord.
the Titans. There you go, good one. That was a good one. I'm going to a training camp in Nashville, see their new stadium. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing well. Excited for that trip.
All right. Well, there you go. Once every like 2 months, Damien with the PTO. But yeah. So,
Listen, money comes back, time doesn't.
did you make it up yourself? You probably didn't, but that's a good quote. That's a
that's
good
a that's
quote.
a that's a good one though.
Yeah. But you guys are right. Baseball. You didn't really say anything about it, but you guys did cover baseball last week. I mean, season's here. Mets already look like they're on the downhill. I don't know how the Yankees are doing, Dame, but are they doing well? What's their record so far?
It literally doesn't matter what they do, to be honest, because they're just gonna lose to the Astros. So I could care less.
Well, they're for
They
fans
have one
wondering, they're
loss.
4-2. They're 4-2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, two losses. Whatever.
Damn, you sound like such a defeated man. And I get it. I get it. I'm a defeated man as well. But I don't know. I'm just trying to look at the positive here. All right. I think for the longest time we've been covering NFL. We just covered baseball last week, and now we are going to be covering the NBA as the playoffs are right around the corner, fellas. Feels like it's been a while since we've talked about the NBA. I can't believe the playoffs are already here. A lot of teams have clinched playoff and play-in berth. I think the East is all set in terms of that. I think 1 through 10 is already set up. For the West, man, it's just all over the place. I think we have a good idea who will be in the playoffs slash play in, but I believe the last seed, the 10th seed, is going to be up for grabs, as I think there's a tie between the Thunder and the Mavericks. But yeah, bunch of unpredictability in the West this year. We still don't even have set matchups for the playoffs in the West. I think for the East, it's kind of set in stone. Besides, I think like one. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the Eastern Conference. We're gonna talk about the Western Conference. We're gonna talk about possible playoff matchups. We're gonna talk about possible play-in matchups. We're gonna give our predictions for the play-in matchups, and then we're gonna basically talk about 1 versus 8, 4 versus 5, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6. Possible surprises in the playoffs this year, how we think the playoffs will go, teams to look out for, who we think will probably win it all, possible teams that can make noise, the whole 9 yards, fellas. And then, of course, we will cap off this episode by giving the order for our annual mock draft. That's right, we do it live, so it'll be a little bit of surprise, a little bit of fun activity. Another year where Damien will think I'll rig it for myself.
Probably
And
will.
no. But yeah, we have 3 confirmed members, and then we have a 4th mystery member that we're not going to confirm because we don't know who that mystery member is so far. But
Professor X, we'll call
yeah,
her.
we'll call him X. So that's the rundown.
Well, don't
Um,
forget, Chris, we're also doing NBA awards. You know, it's awards
Almost forgot
season.
about that. I have dementia. We're also beginning giving our NBA award predictions before our draft order. So NBA playoff talk slash predictions, NBA awards, and then of course draft order. Fellas, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. We actually decided to talk about the Eastern Conference first before the show started. So, fellas, first place locked, the Milwaukee Bucks. Second place locked, Boston Celtics. Third place locked, Philadelphia Sixers. Fourth place locked, Cleveland Cavs. Fifth place locked, New York Knicks. Sixth place not yet locked, but most likely Nets, Brooklyn Nets. And then cutoff point for the play-in teams. Seventh place, Miami Heat. Eighth place, Atlanta Hawks. Ninth place, Toronto Raptors. 10th place, Chicago Bulls. Okay. Um, so I believe the Bulls, I think, are locked into that 10th spot. I mean, yeah, I think so. And then I got the Raptors, who will be playing the Celtics and the Bucks.
Jeez.
One of those teams, I for sure the Bucks are resting on their final game of the season. So, which means I mean, the Celtics could also rest. Who knows? Now, it's interesting because the Raptors are one game behind the Hawks. So the Hawks' last two games are the Sixers, could be resting, and the Celtics, who could be resting. So, yeah, this is a little difficult to like kind of predict. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Bulls locked into the 10th seed. Raptors are a game behind the Hawks, but because some of these teams are resting, and just because I think these teams in the plan are just gonna want to like just stand put and just play seriously for the time being. I don't think the playing teams will rest. Maybe they will, but I don't think so. So let's just say they are how they are. Seventh will be the Miami Heat. Eighth will be the Atlanta Hawks. Ninth will be the Toronto Raptors. 10th will be the Chicago Bulls. The Heat are a game and a half behind the Nets. Jurg, the Nets play the Magic and the Sixers, who I think will be resting. So I think, can I speak for all of us that we think the Nets are going to stand in that sixth spot? Do we think the Miami Heat will catch up?
Hell no.
Yeah, the Nets are staying there.
Okay. So let's talk about the play-in. So we have 9th versus 10th, which would be the Raptors versus the Bulls, and then the Heat versus the Hawks. Heat versus the Hawks. Let's start off with that. I would love for the Heat to win this because fuck Atlanta, and they're the most mid team in the NBA.
Literally.
They gave up 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray, and what do they have to show for it? But yeah, Jurg, you are the Miami Heat fan of this trio. Disappointing season to say the least. There's been a bunch of injuries, but I have seen some losses where I'm just like, damn, bro, what the fuck? The Heat? Why are we losing these type of games? But would you consider this season somewhat of a disappointment before we head on to predictions?
Yeah, sort of. Yes, I expected them to take a step back. I'm pretty sure I want to say I had them as the 6th seed when we did our preseason prediction, so I didn't really have them that highly ranked. I would say it's a disappointment, not necessarily because of the record, because at this point I expect this team to just make the playoffs by hook or by crook. I more so mean by a lot of the player performances. I don't like. Tyler Hero is maybe took a half step forward, but not the leap he took last season. Bam and Jimmy are fine. They're the two guys of the team. But I just think everyone else around them has failed the team. And for whatever reason, this team just is not able to play up to a level that they did last year. And I think it's really showing that a lot of these guys, Miami is credited for their development and what they're able to do with guys who maybe weren't necessarily touted. But I think you're starting to see what the ceiling on a lot of these players who weren't highly touted for a reason are. They're good. They could be role players for a bit. They can't be expected to carry too heavy of a load for a team, which I think a lot of these guys have been asked to do, and I just don't think they're able to do it. I think this team always had a ceiling to it. I think they exceeded it last season. I was very happy they did, but I think we're really seeing what this team is actually about, especially because they can't consistently shoot the season. They went from the best shooting team in threes last season to bottom 10, I think, or at least bottom half of the league this season. And when you have that precipitous of a drop off, you're going to see that fall in the standings. They went from the 1st seed last season to the play-in this year. From that perspective, I'm not necessarily shocked.
So yeah, they play the Atlanta Hawks in the let's just say they play the Atlanta Hawks in the first play-in matchup. Winner of this game will end up being the 7th seed, and they will be playing the Boston Celtics. So here's the thing: I think the Heat will win this game. Simply put, it's playoff time, which means it's Jimmy Butler time. I do think there's an element of like, all right, guys, we're not in the playoffs, but like it's time now. Let's lock in. And I just think the defensive intensity, like they struggle to score sometimes, but I'll always trust Miami's defense to get the job done. I do think they'll make it tough on Trae Young. Again, like you said, Bam is the anchor of that defense. Jimmy, I don't know who said the phrase, but like someone said like Jimmy in the regular season, he's a coaster. Like he just coasts, and then of course when it's playoff time, he takes it seriously. So yeah, they'll have home court advantage. I just think the defensiveness, intensity. I do think they'll step it up. Everything is gonna shift into a certain gear for the playoffs for the Miami Heat. Spoelstra, I think, is a better coach than Quinn Snyder. I just think it's just the Miami Heat to take this. I will say though, wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks sneaky Hawks. If they win, I wouldn't be surprised if they win this game. I would not be surprised. Trae Young could possibly go off. I do suspect. I mean, they played in the playoffs last year. I do suspect that the defense will surround Trae Young. I do think they'll make it tough for him. But yeah, I got the Miami Heat winning this one. Wouldn't be surprised if the Hawks win. For 9 versus 10, Raptors Bulls. I got the Toronto Raptors winning this one. This also might be a tough one as well, man. I think the Bulls. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they somewhat a very small like hot streak? Did they find their footing a bit towards the end there? I know Zach Levine kind of did, but I mean, look, this could go either way. I'm gonna trust the Raptors here just because they have a bit more experience. I think their defense will make it tough for the Bulls. Um, Again, they've been there before. I think I trust their weapons a bit more in playoff scenarios than the Bulls. I'm sorry, DeMar DeRozan and Zach Levine don't get it done for me. But yeah, I trust Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and I just think same thing as like the Heat versus the Hawks here. I just kind of trust the Raptors defense to make it tough for the Bulls here. So I have the Raptors, also just experience as well. Better coach team as well. Raptors beating the Bulls. So I have the Heat beating the Hawks. They go into the 7th seed, which means the Hawks would play the Raptors for the final seed. And I have that is tough, but I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I have the Atlanta Hawks. I just think they're gonna get one of the. They're just that sneaky team. I think they're just gonna catch fire. Trae Young will have one of those games, and then he'll beat the Raptors. So I have the Heat becoming the 7th seed, and the Hawks will beat the Raptors in the final playing game to get the 8th seed. Yeah, those are my predictions. Jarek, let me start with you. What do we think? Predictions.
Well, really fast, just for the people that are still somehow confused by the NBA playing format, because I'm sure there's at least one person out there. The way it works, ladies and gentlemen, is that the winner of the 7 versus 8 seed matchup becomes the 7th seed, and the loser of that matchup will take on the winner of the 9 versus 10, and the winner of that final game will become the 8th seed. Just to clarify for the people in case they were wondering. Yeah, for me, I have Miami winning by far. If we somehow lose to this trash team, then this will certainly be a disappointment. I don't think we should be the 8th seed. We should at least be the 7th seed. And we should definitely be the team that we smoked in 5 games last season. Trae Young averages like 5.5 turnovers per game in his career against Miami. He only averages 8 assists. His career field goal percentage is like 40% against the Heat. So he just always struggles against Miami. Even DeJounte Murray, 2 of the 4 games that the Heat and the Hawks faced off this season, Murray was held under 20 points, and I think one of them he only scored 10. So Miami is equipped, and they can shut down this Atlanta team. I'm expecting them to play good defense at minimum, and I don't think Jimmy and Bam will allow this team to falter in the first play-in game. I also think it's an internal thing that the Heat believe between the Celtics and the Bucks. If you have to go through one of those two murderers row teams in the East, I think they would prefer a matchup against the Celtics. I think the Bucks are easily head. Let me say this: both teams are head and shoulders above the Heat this season. But I think Miami would try to take their chances against a team they went 7 games against last season versus a Bucks team they haven't faced in a couple years now in the postseason. So I think the Heat would rather take on Boston. So I think they're going to be gunning for the 7th seed. So I think Miami wins the first game. I'm with you. This podcast has been against the Chicago Bulls for the last 2 seasons, in part because we never bought into the overrated hype last year to begin with. Toronto Raptors over the Bulls, hopefully, just so that way I don't have to try to sicken my way through watching. I'm not even going to watch the game if it happens, but a Bulls-Hawks playing game, I don't want to waste my time with a Trae Young versus DeMar DeRozan matchup, so no thank you. And in that, I'm also going to have the Hawks lose that one because I just don't like them and the fact that they've been so mid. And I think the Raptors would be a far more entertaining matchup in terms of coach scheming, in terms of defenders that they could throw at Chris Middleton and Giannis. I think that the Raptors, with guys like Scotty Barnes, with guys like OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr. as well, like I think they have the roster to slightly bother the Milwaukee Bucks. I think an Atlanta versus Milwaukee first round matchup, the Hawks would be the equivalent of like gum on the bottom of the Bucks shoe. They're just going to walk for a couple miles with it, then finally take a paper towel, take it off their shoe, and then throw it into a garbage can. I think the Raptors might at least at minimum be like more of a mosquito. So I think that the Raptors will win against the Bulls, and I think they'll beat the Hawks because if we're going on defense, I think the next best team to Miami of the play-in teams in the East are the Raptors. I'm running with defense in this play-in, so I got the Heat being my 7th seed to the Celtics. I got the Raptors being my 8th seed, taking on the Bucks.
So I'm very similar here. I do have the Heat over the Hawks, although it was like a disappointing season for the Heat. Obviously, a lot of frustration. Jimmy Butler clearly showed a lot of frustration, especially now towards the end of the season, where you kind of, although a lot of teams might start off slow this season, the real teams kind of get it going towards the end of the season and bring it together, and that's just not what's been happening with the Heat. Jimmy Butler has literally said it out loud that like he's pissed off, and like you just see it on the court as well, where he like leaves games early and stuff. But I think in the playoffs they're just a different team. I think they'll get it together. They're always nobody wants to see the Heat in the playoffs, no matter how like sketchy they looked in the regular season. So I think Boston, Milwaukee are really gonna look out for that game and hope that they don't match up with the Heat in the first round. Because I mean, like a reward for being the 1 or 2 seed, playing the Heat in the first round isn't really a reward. You'd rather be a lower seed. But regardless, I'm gonna have the Heat over the Hawks. I just think they're gonna be a lot more physical than them, and they're just a better team. In the second one, though, I am gonna go with the Bulls over the Raptors. I know, obviously, I am part of the 3 on the podcast that are not high on the Bulls and have been high on the Bulls in the past. But I just think they're a better team than the Raptors. I think they have more playmakers with the DeMar DeRozan and Levine. I'd rather trust those guys to make plays in a win or go home kind of game compared to Van Vliet and Siakam. I'm not big on those guys. So I'm going to go with the Bulls there, and then that leaves it for the Hawks and Bulls. And I'm also going to go with the Bulls in this situation. It was tough because I could easily see Trae Young having like that 48, 50-point game and bringing the Hawks into the playoffs. But I just think Pat Bev's going to make his life a living hell. He's going to be extremely annoying. Might pick up a tech or two, get thrown out the game at some point. He's probably going to be in foul trouble most of the game. But coach is going to leave him in because he knows that it's a win or go home kind of game. So I think he's going to make it pretty tough for Trae Young. You still have DeJounte Murray, obviously, but it's kind of hard to lean on him if Trae Young is kind of out of the game. And then, like I said, DeMar DeRozan and Levine, they kind of been finding their groove now towards the end of the season, specifically Levine. And I think that continues. So I'm going to roll with the Bulls here over the Hawks, and then I'll set up Heat Celtics and the Bucks Bulls first round.
So a rematch between the Bucks and the Bulls. That leads to our Eastern Conference playoffs. We all have different scenarios for the 1 versus 8 seed. Irregardless, we have the Bucks winning.
Yeah.
Bucks versus Hawks, Raptors, and Bulls. I would have the Bucks winning in 5 for my matchup. I think for Giannis and just championship aspiration teams, they want to win their first round as quick as possible just so they could get that rest, especially for Giannis, who I think is entering that stratosphere of just like get as much rest as possible, get everything done in time because the next round, well, I mean, compared to the second and third seed, I think they have the easier road because they will be playing the winner of the Knicks versus the Cavaliers, and they won't have to be playing the Celtics or the Sixers. So the Bucks, they have a good opportunity here just to kind of get everything done quick. So I have them beating the Hawks in 5. Dame, what do you have? What do you have the Bucks beating the Bulls in?
I think this is where the Bulls' run ends. I think it's a 4-game sweep. I think it's gonna be pretty easy for the Bucks. The Bucks are rolling out at the end of the year, and Bulls, although I have them winning those 2 playing games, they're just no match for the Bucks.
I'll have 5 just because, again, I think Toronto's defense can just win them 1 game, but it's
Mhm.
only going to be by like 5 or 6 points. It's going to be in Toronto. Like, the Raptors randomly took 2 games away from the 76ers last season. I didn't think that they were that, like, I just think defense can make a difference just for a game. And I think the Raptors could do that, but ultimately it's going to be the Bucks gentleman sweep rolling them out in 5, and Nick Nurse probably leaving Toronto after this season because for some reason they don't want to keep him there. So
Nice little tidbit right there at the end. Okay, we got second versus 7th. Celtics versus the Miami Heat. For all of us, I believe, right?
yes,
Okay. So, worst possible matchup for the Celtics in the first round, to be honest, because that's a tough road for them. For the expectations we have for the Boston Celtics, championship aspirations. But man, you got to go through the Miami Heat and then probably the Sixers and then probably the Bucks at the end. Oof. Okay, the worst thing they could have asked for. But screw it. They had a tough they had a tough path last year when they played the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. They still made it to the finals. But yeah, Celtics versus Heat. I'm gonna go with the Celtics in 6. I just think the Celtics roster is gonna be too overwhelming. The Celtics roster is gonna be too overwhelming for the Heat to handle. But again, we've already kind of talked about this. It's playoff time. I do think it'll be a grit and grind series. Joe, what is the Celtics coach's last name?
Missoula.
Missoula. I do think it's going to be his first playoff series. He's going to run into Eric Spoelstra. I'm going to take Eric Spoelstra on that one. So I do think he'd have coaching and, I think you have the coaching experience on their side. Again, defensive intensity will pick up. But again, the Celtics also have a very good defensive team. but I just think they overwhelm them in the talent side. I do think the Celtics will win this in 6. It'll be kind of a tough first round series for them. Could be wrong, but and also less rest for the Miami Heat, which will probably screw them up because they're a team that's kind of aging right now. Yeah, I got the Celtics in 6. Jerk, what do you got? Sorry.
Yeah, no, similar thing. It's Celtics in 6, maybe 7, because this Heat team just knows how to be annoying and try to win that game on the road to force a game 7, a la the '08 and '09, well, maybe the '08 playoffs where we went to 7 against the Atlanta Hawks, that Joe Johnson, Josh Smith team. Um, yeah, we have the capabilities to match up with that. For some reason, Celtics fans are like scared to death of our team. I don't know why, but they seem to be, at least the big media pundits or like people who appear on shows that are Celtics fans. They fear the Miami Heat to death for some reason. Right next to the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, thanks, I guess. But yeah, no, the Celtics are going to beat us. Like you said, I think coaching wise, I don't think it's going to be too much of a tactical thing where Eric Spoelstra has it over Joe Mazzulla, like by such a wide margin. I think Joe Mazzulla is a pretty good coach, but I think there will be some things that Spo's able to get. For some reason, the Heat's zone defense flummoxes the Celtics at times. Again, I can't explain why. I don't think it should, but it does. And I think Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. We made the joke. I was making the joke last season. It's Himmy Butler when it comes to the Heat postseason, because he just turns it up. The big thing will be, can Bam and Tyler Hero be a consistent 2 and 3 for Jimmy? If they could do that, I could maybe see the series going the distance to 7. And I think the NBA just always loves it when at least one series goes to 7 in the first round. So I would love that, but I would give the Celtics the talent advantage by far. Like, Tatum and Brown are just so good. So I'll say 6, but if it goes to 7, I'm not surprised in that case.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make this 3 in a row. I'm gonna go with the Celtics in 6 as well. I do think it'll be one of those series where most of the games are close. We might have like one blowout, but I think it's gonna be a very hard fought series that could go. Each game could go either way. But I just think with the miscues that the Heat have had throughout the season and the chemistry issues and all that kind of stuff, I think the Celtics might be able to expose that and show why they're the better team, because they've been playing together all season long, and just from like the talent standpoint, like Jerk said, they're just a better team. And I just think when the game becomes close, all the Heat do have is Jimmy Butler, and there's nobody on between both these teams that I trust more than Jimmy Butler. I just think the Celtics at the end will just edge it out, and they'll be able to win this series in 6.
Sixers versus Nets, 3 versus 6. I'm gonna go with this. I'm not even. Yeah, Sixers in a 4. They're gonna sweep them. They're gonna sweep them.
Really?
Not. Yeah, I was thinking maybe a gentleman's sweep. Maybe Bridges will go off, but I think Sixers understand the importance of getting this done early because they play. I mean, if the Celtics and the Heat go, as we think it will be as tough as we think it will be. I think the Sixers think this is a golden opportunity to get as much rest as possible. Celtics will tire themselves out. Yeah, don't play around with the Nets. I mean, maybe the Nets will be scrappy and win one game, but I just think, look, no one's gonna be able to guard him, beat on the Nets. Simple as he's gonna do his thing. I think Harden will do his thing. I think Bridges will make life hell for one of either Harden, Maxey, or Tobias Harris. But I do think I mean, look, I love Mikal Bridges, and hopefully this is like, he goes off. Not that I care about the Nets, but I do like Mikal Bridges a lot. I just think that the Sixers understand the importance here of ending it early. I think they have no answer for Joel Embiid. Maybe like there's going to be a few close games, but I could see this kind of being. I could see this, yeah, being the most overwhelming matchup actually. So yeah, I got the Sixers winning in 4. I'm gonna go with the sweep. Dane.
I'm gonna go with the Sixers in 5. I do think the Nets are a very scrappy team, and they're very well coached. And this new, without Kyrie and KD, you can see they play together a lot more than they did before. And Mikal Bridges is turning into a real star, so I think they'll be able to scrap one game. I wouldn't be even surprised if they're able to scrap 2 games out, but I'm just gonna go with the one.
Whoa.
I just think there's some games that the Sixers kind of take off and just don't look like themselves, and that might happen for a second game. But I'm just gonna stay with the one game. I'll have the Sixers in 5.
I'm going to go 76ers in 6. And again, I wouldn't be
Whoa.
somehow surprised if it's 7. I love the
Whoa.
I love the team play of this Nets team ever since they got rid of the cancer in the locker room. And Ben Simmons' useless self no longer having to worry about if he'll ever play on the court, I think is a positive. I think you have great shooting there in Joe Harris and Steph Curry, who both of them, I think especially Joe Harris recently, has been on a hot streak. I think Spencer Dinwiddie, for all the flack he gets by so many different people, is proving to be a very valuable point guard. I think he's averaging nearly 13, 14 points since he became a member of the Nets again. I think Cam Johnson's been averaging 16 and a half. Mikal Bridges has been averaging over 25. I speak as a Heat fan. This dude somehow torches us every single time. The team style and the team defense they have, Claxton and Dorian Finney-Smith are very good defenders. Dorian Finney-Smith on the wing. Nick Claxton is a very underrated, all NBA defensive second team caliber center, I think. This is a very well-coached, disciplined team. And I think they're going to give the 76ers problems. I've said this for years on this podcast, and I'm going to continue to say because I see no difference. I don't think the 76ers have a killer instinct. I think Doc Rivers is an overrated coach. I think James Harden is overrated. And yes, Joel Embiid will do his thing, but if his guys don't show up for him, if they, as Dame kind of said, if they revert back to their quote-unquote form, then this is going to be a series that lasts longer than it should be expected. They somehow let the Raptors claw 2 games away from them last season when they were up 3-0 in that series. There was no excuse for that.
Well, I do think Embiid got hurt, Jerg.
I don't care if he got hurt. They were up 3-0. Finish the job. I don't think they could finish the job, quote unquote. They have such a massive talent advantage here that they will be able to close out the series. But tactically, discipline, team style, I think it's the Nets on those fronts. And I think we are slowly starting to enter a time where not every series, but some series, if you can just play better as a team and be together, you can last longer in the playoffs than most give credit for. Especially if the team across from you, yes, they might be more talented, but they're not them. The 76ers are not them. They're not that team. I don't care how much rest they get. The Celtics are beating them in the second round no matter what, because those are their playoff demons that I just don't see them exercising at all. So I have the Nets lasting a little longer than most. I'll say 76ers in 6, but even that is still shaky. I don't have any faith in this Philadelphia team. I don't see any reason to have any faith in this Philadelphia team. It's the same old Doc Rivers. It's the same old James Harden. It's the same old shtick, and I'm not going to fall for it.
Way to spoil the second round predictions, Jurg. All right. Final first round matchup: Cleveland Cavaliers versus the New York Knicks. Hilarious that this is a first round matchup. I got the Cavs winning in 6, maybe even 7. But as a Knicks fan, I usually go the more pessimistic route. I'm just not going to put myself through that situation. I don't know what the status report will be on Julius Randle. I do think he'll try to push it and play. Unfortunately, I would hope he just kind of takes his time.
Oh, you guys are going to be so screwed if he does that.
Yeah, I
hope he doesn't play.
I have been watching the Knicks games the last, ever since he got hurt. That ball has been moving. There's been a plethora of ball movement. I'm liking how certain players are looking without him, and I just know he's going to come back for the first round. Yeah, anyway, so I think there's a talent disparity here. I just think Donovan Mitchell... Here's the thing. Donovan Mitchell will do his thing. I think for the Cavs, I think it's important for Darius Garland to step up here because I do think there's a formula to kind of beat the Cavs. I think if Mitchell goes off for 40 in the first 3.5 quarters, but the games are still tied, the game is still close. I mean, you kind of took his best shot. I mean, we kind of saw that when they played against each other a week ago. Mitchell went off, so did Brunson. I do trust Mitchell to have those games more so than Brunson in the playoffs. But, I mean, fatigue will catch up to Donovan Mitchell. So I think it will be important for the Darius Garlands of the world to kind of step up. For the Knicks, like you said, I don't trust Julius Randle. I don't know if he'll be back, but I also don't trust him in the playoffs. I do think Mobley and Allen, the combo of them two, will get him frustrated. And, of course, he will make emotional mistakes because he is a emotionally flawed man. Don't trust Randle. RJ, love him to death. A very frustrating season, and I'm afraid what will happen in the playoffs. And I think this is a really bad scenario for him because he loves to drive in the paint. When you have Mobley and Allen there, it'll negate him, and it will negate his his strengths, which will force him to take jump shots. Guess what he can't do? He can't shoot. So I don't know. I don't expect this to be a very good series for RJ. If he does have a decent series, mazel tov. But also it'll look bad because freaking we played Donovan Mitchell, and we all know what the trade rumors were last season, which will suck narrative wise for a lot of people. Uh, I do think Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, if RJ could hopefully take a step up defensively, could make it tough for Donovan Mitchell. Um, this will be our first playoff series with Mitchell Robinson. I do think that's a plus for us, but I do think just the talent disparity here. The Knicks will be scrappy for sure. I do think those will be a decent matchup, and they'll make it tough for them. Madison Square Garden can win you a playoff game. I'll have the Cavs winning in 6, just because my expectations are low. Would not be surprised if this goes 7. I actually have a few friends that think the Knicks could win this series. Which I mean, I'm not gonna get into that, but I do have the Cavs winning. Donovan Mitchell will do his thing, and I know the media will probably eat that shit up, but yeah. Um, Cavs in 7 and 4. Cavs in 6, unfortunately. Uh, Dame, what do you got?
So I'm actually gonna go Cavs in 7. It's just gonna be a heartbreak, but I have no expectations, so you can't break my heart.
All
But
right, teacher.
I just think the Knicks are a very good team. They're very well balanced. I hope Julius Randle doesn't play, so everyone in the world can see that we don't need him. Um, but I just think when it comes down to Game 7, Donovan Mitchell he's gonna do it to us. Same way he's been doing it to the league this entire year. I think like the past 5 games he has like 40 point games or something like that. Saw something like that on Twitter that he's been just going crazy, and it's just perfect timing, just right into the playoffs, and he's gonna do it to us because we didn't trade it for him, and it just feels like every star shows up against the Knicks. And I think that's exactly what's gonna happen. Um, Jalen Brunson, I do think is gonna show up. He just seems like a guy who isn't gonna choke in the playoffs. I am concerned for Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, two guys who are very much ISO players and very much are predictable in the way they want to score. I think the Cavs are going to be ready for that. Obviously, with guys like Jared Allen and Mobley down low, it's going to be hard for them to drive. And if you force Julius Randle and RJ Barrett to shoot jump shots, it's very, very easy to stop them and get them frustrated. And when you get Julius Randle frustrated, he wants to fight coaches and teammates, and then at that point, this series might be over in 4 or 5. But I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Knicks team that I've seen this year that play hard defense. And I'm going to go with the Cavs in 7. But I see no scenario in which the Knicks win. But I'm just going to give them benefit down and say they make it to 7 games.
I think the Knicks could win this series if everybody on the Cavs get injured. I think that's how they would win the series.
All right.
I'm gonna I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna say Knicks. No, excuse me, Cavs in 6. Uh, I've let my love of my two friends here sway my way in a Knicks playoff before. I'm not letting that happen again.
Just
Um,
one time, Jurg.
yeah, I should have gone Hawks, and I wanted to go Hawks, but I went Knicks to join you two, and that was a massive mistake. So I'm going Cavs in 6 here. If Julius Randle actually takes his time to come back into the series and he waits a little bit, I think that gives the Knicks the best possible chance because I think it forces the Cavs to have to switch up the game plan a little bit. And I think if you can make the other team have to think about adjusting their game plan midway through a series, I think that gives you an edge. Uh, I think this Knicks team, Jalen Brunson is supremely talented. I think he always had the talent. I just think it was I think had Jalen Brunson stayed in Dallas, I think he and Luka could have figured it out this season, but obviously he wanted to go and Dallas just didn't want to keep him for whatever reason. I think he's flourished on the Knicks with getting just a bigger role. I think he's proven himself. I think Jalen Brunson and Darius Garland going toe for toe will be great, but at the end of the day, Donovan Mitchell is that guy. He is the best player in this series by a margin. So, and he's showed up in the playoffs before. Like in a majority, I think maybe only one playoff series in his time in Utah, you could argue that, hey, Donovan Mitchell didn't do enough to help that team win. He did plenty in a lot of series to help him win. He had Rudy Gobert as his second guy, and me and Dame have made our thoughts about him very clear in this podcast before. I think the Cavs win the series in 6. I mentioned the Julius Randle point because I think if he just tries to play through everything, I think the Cavs will win in 5 because I think Julius Randle is just that much of a detriment to this team. And I think him trying to play defensively injured is not going to help. And him trying to play offensively, I think he'll just try to settle for jump shots. And Evan Mobley is a fine perimeter defender. Excuse me. Jared Allen has been great in the paint this season as a defender. I think Jared Allen is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, at least on the short list of like the top 4, top 5 guys on that award. And Isaac Okoro is a fine defender, to say the very least. You know, I mean, he was drafted for defense. So at the end of the day, I think the Cavaliers have the defense to throw at Randle. So like you guys have said, it'll frustrate him. And I think if they have to deal with a frustrated Julius Randle, it's going to throw the team out of whack and it's just going to cost them in the playoffs. I think they need to try to force him to not play the beginning of the series because an injured Julius Randle, like it's a whole thing of like, would you rather have this player at 65% over not having their production at all? No, I don't want Julius Randle at less than 90% at all in the series because the less than 90% Julius Randle will cost my team games. So
I don't want him at all, Jerg. I don't want him at all.
I mean, I'm with you, but you guys signed him to that extension. No one forced you to. At the end of the day, it's Cavs winning the series ultimately. How the Knicks perform, how should I say this? How the Knicks scheme it will dictate how long it goes, if it goes shorter or longer than expected. But I'm kind of with you. I don't see a realistic scenario where the Knicks lose this because I think Donovan Mitchell, I mean, we're talking about teams being fueled in some of these series. Donovan Mitchell has the fuel of all those playoff defeats in Utah, and I think he looks at the East and I think he sees an opportunity to try to pull off the upsets here. I think the Cavs have the potential to go far, and if they weren't facing the Bucks in the second round, I think they would make the conference finals this season potentially. But I'm going Cavs in 6 over the Knicks for sure.
Yeah, Cavs better win. I'll say that the Cavs better win because man, oh man, narratives. I will not shut the fuck up if the Knicks beat this series, beat the bum ass Cavs, bum ass Cleveland. So I don't got to hear about this Donovan Mitchell shit anymore. I do want to say this last thing. I'm very genuinely excited to see how the Knicks bench will perform. I am in love with Emmanuel Quickly. I'm in love with Josh Hart. I definitely want to see how they perform now in playoff atmosphere. This is Josh Hart's first playoff series. That's kind of nuts.
He was on bad teams his whole career.
But I think he's been like a solid like role player for like a lot of his teams.
Agreed. They just trade him.
Yeah, but I'm glad that he got his first playoff series with New York. You don't want to hear from me if the Knicks win this series. Trust. Okay, that'll do it for the first round. We move on over to the Western Conference, fellas. Bunch of conversation, a bunch of parody here. So let's go to our play-in standings. As of right now, 7th place Lakers, 8th place Pelicans, 9th place Timberwolves, 10th place Thunder. The Thunder are tied with the Mavericks for that final play-in spot. Both teams, both the Thunder and the Mavericks, are 2 games behind the Wolves. Wolves play the Spurs next. I think they'll clinch. I think the Wolves are locked to that 9th seed. So, predictions here, quick. Thunder or Mavericks to win?
Mavericks.
Out. Okay. Let me just see the final 2 games. So, the Mavericks have the Bulls and the Spurs for the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Mavericks, Bulls and Spurs for the last 2 games. And for the Thunder, they have the Jazz and the Grizzlies. Grizzlies, I think, will rest a bunch of their players. Jazz, I mean, that could go either way, I feel like. I don't know why. But let's just give the benefit of the doubt that the Mavericks win out of that 10th spot. Dame, I don't want to exclude you. Who do you think gets the 10th spot?
Between the Mavs and the Thunder. I think we'll go with the Mavs.
I thought you said Thunder for a second.
No, they just have, I think, easier matchup. I think they're the better team.
I think a report is going to come out before each game that SGA has been chloroformed. And
Ponzi scheme Presti back at it.
I was going to say, Sam Presti is going to take a crowbar to like SGA's ankle and make sure he doesn't play these last 2 games.
As a Knicks fan, got to hope for the Mavs to make it. So
that is a good point. Well, yeah, that is a good point. You know what? I didn't think about that. Yeah, the pick, but also, maybe Shaq gets frustrated. That's the more important part.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not. Okay. I don't know why you do.
Shut up. All right, we got so Mavericks at 10, Timberwolves at 9. I don't see the Timberwolves moving up to. Well, let's see. Pelicans last 2 games, Knicks, who that could be a winnable game for them actually. And the Timberwolves. Ooh, that's gonna be a good one actually. Ooh, I don't know now.
Playing for the 8th there.
Yeah. Well, the Lakers' final 2 games are the Suns. Don't know if they'll rest their players, and then the Jazz.
Let's just keep it as is, just like we did.
So you don't think that the Wolves can move up to 8? That's the only thing I could see that could change in this final.
I have the Wolves losing their first game, no matter what it is. Anyway.
Okay, so Dame, do you have the Pelicans at 8, or do you think the Wolves can move up to 8?
No, I have the Pelicans.
Okay, so let's keep it like that. So now, do the Lakers move up to 6, or do they stay at 7?
I think they'll stay at 7.
I think they stay at 7 as well.
Okay, so we will have the Lakers versus the Pelicans. Winner gets the 7th seed, and then we'll have the Wolves versus the Dallas Mavericks. Okay, let's have I have the Lakers beating the Pelicans. It's very simple. LeBron James. I told Amos when they made that D'Angelo Russell trade and everyone else, I just love the trade for them. It's like it's a natural fit with all those players of LeBron. It brings an element of shooting that they desperately need. Spreads the floor. They're more youthful now. Everything just fits for them. But LeBron isn't losing this game. And also the Pelicans, they're not going to have Zion. I'm just assuming they're not going to have Zion. Food for the Lakers. I don't. Yeah, this will be too overwhelming for the Pelicans. LeBron just wants to get everything done quick, which will lead to a Lakers Grizzlies playoff series. So yeah, simply put, Lakers beat the Pelicans. Timberwolves versus the Mavericks. Now the Mavericks have been a topic of conversation as of late. I don't know if I said that correctly, but they can't defend us three in a basketball court. But they have Luka Doncic. They have Kyrie Irving, but they have Luka Doncic most importantly. Excluding that, it's just gonna be funny as fuck, and it'll be very entertaining to watch the Timberwolves lose this one and not be in the playoffs after giving up King's ransom for Rudy Gobert. But yeah, I just think when you have the best player between those teams, I think they just want to get into the play-in, the Mavericks. I just think they'll kind of, let everything else play out. I'm not saying the Timberwolves don't have a chance, but I just think Luka Doncic is going to go into a different stratosphere like we have all seen that he's capable of. And now, again, I just think once you get there, there's a certain shift in gear for, certain teams. The Mavericks have been struggling as of late, so who knows what that gear is, but I just trust Luka Doncic. Do I trust Karl-Anthony Towns? No. I like Anthony Edwards, but again, it's Luka Doncic here. I think both teams suck defensively. I know they have Rudy Gobert. That doesn't really sway me. Because I just think the Mavericks will resort to perimeter shooting, and that will take Rudy Gobert out of the equation. So I have the Mavericks beating the Timberwolves. And then, of course, they play the Pelicans. Tough, tough, tough. I'm going to go with, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Dallas Mavericks. I'm going to go with them. Again, no Zion. There's been no timetable, I believe. That's what Sham said. It's just the Luka Doncic effect here. I don't want to disrespect Brandon Ingram, but that could go either way. I just think I'm just gonna go with talent overwhelming the Pelicans there. Who knows? It'll go either way. Don't ask me why I'm picking the Mavericks, but I have the Lakers at 7th, and then I'll have the Mavericks at 8th for the final slot. Dame, your predictions.
I'm actually gonna have the exact same thing you do.
Nice.
I just think the Lakers over the Pelicans. It's just a one game kind of, and it's not win or go home for the Lakers or the Pelicans, but I just think it's a one game thing. LeBron is gonna give his best. Anthony Davis, I think he's gonna have Anthony Davis right. The Lakers usually play the Pelicans well. I think they just lost to them recently in a very close game, but I don't think LeBron was playing. But regardless, this team has looked really good after the deadline, and the more games they play together, the better they'll be because they'll be used to playing with each other. They'll know what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. So I think they'll be able to take down the Pelicans, and then the Mavs over the Timberwolves. I think that's easy. I don't like the Timberwolves at all. Anthony Edwards is that guy, but he's not there yet. He's gonna be that guy, but he's not that guy yet, I should say. Rudy Gobert is a bottom 5 player in the NBA. I don't trust Cat to do anything. And then Luka Doncic is just top 5 player in the NBA. Although they've had their struggles lately, you saw what they did yesterday, where you just have Kyrie Irving take over the game, Luka a near triple double. I think that's what you're gonna get in these playing games, and you definitely get against the Timberwolves, who although the Mavs can't guard anybody, I don't think the Timberwolves can either. Which then leaves the Pelicans and Mavs. And I think this is really close because the Pelicans are such a well-coached team and just play so good together. But again, in just a one-game scenario, I just think Luka and Kyrie are just going to be able to take over that game as well. And they're just going to have so much firepower that the Pelicans aren't going to be able to match. So I'll go with the Lakers at 7 seed and the Mavs at 8.
Yeah, let me complete this three-peat here. I think in a one-game sample, like you, Chris, I was very big on the trades that the Lakers had made at the deadline with the team that they got. I think Jared Vanderbilt has played great. I think D'Angelo Russell is really, especially early on, he paid dividends for them with some big shots when LeBron was missing time. But the biggest thing for me has been Anthony Davis and him being able to be out there and perform great. I know he's slowed down a little bit as of late, but I just think the overwhelming force of LeBron and AD will take them into the 7th seed. I have them beating the Pelicans. I'm with you guys. to me, the difference between the Mavericks and the Timberwolves is that the Mavericks have massive defensive struggles, but the Timberwolves have two black holes in their starting five. They have a black hole on defense in Karl-Anthony Towns, and they have a black hole on offense in Rudy Gobert. Um, or maybe Cat is more of a Montador, of a Olay, and you could just go past him like a bull straight to the basket if Gobert's not there. But either or, I think there are less deficiencies for Dallas, and I think they, again, overwhelming star power. The top two players in that game belong to the Mavericks. Now, of course, technically they have to get there as the time we're recording this, but we've already said we have the Mavericks being the 10th seed. So I have the Mavericks over the Timberwolves. And, old dirtbag Danny Ainge very happy about the fact that, the Wolves losing and getting into the lottery because that's a nice draft pick for him. And then between Mavericks Pelicans, if Zion somehow miraculously came back, I would maybe consider the Pelicans. But I'm going to give the Mavericks a very slight edge because, again, I think if they can find this balance, Luka and Kyrie. Here's the thing. I actually think Luka and Kyrie have a chance to play well together on the court, but they don't have the pieces around them. Like they gave up a lot of the defense that they had to fit Kyrie into this lineup. And I don't think Jason Kidd has necessarily figured it out, but I think they can reach a happy medium of Luka is that all-around guy, and come the fourth quarter, Kyrie Irving becomes the shot creator and maker. But if Kyrie slows down, Luka has shown several times in his career he could take a game over as well. So I think that's the balance that those guys have overall. I think on the court is fine. Off the court, I have my concerns because, God knows what, movie recommendations Kyrie's making to Luka in their off times, or, him trying to talk about how the earth is flat. But, on the court, strictly speaking, I think they're a great combo. So I think the Mavericks will be able to power their way. Like the Dame had the Bulls making a run to the 8th seed in the East, I got the Mavericks making a similar run to the 8th seed in the West. So I got Lakers and Mavericks at my 7 and 8.
All right. That leaves our playoff matchups. Denver Nuggets versus the Dallas Mavericks, 1 versus 8. Grizzlies versus the Los Angeles Lakers, 2 versus 7. Okay, so this is actually the part that isn't confirmed.
This is the unknown, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. So as of now, I think the Suns are the 4th seed. I think that's for sure locked. I know they're 2.5 games ahead. They're going to be locked for it. 5th are the Clippers as of right now. 6th are the Warriors. They're tied, but I believe the Clippers own the tiebreaker.
Yes.
Clippers last 2 games. Now, look, this is also hilarious because I do think the Clippers and the Warriors are both ducking the Suns in the first round. And, I get it. But they're tied. Clippers last 2 games. Trailblazers and the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns might be resting everyone. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers also, purposely try to throw these last 2 games.
We just see 2 G League teams out there.
That's what I'm assuming. And then the Warriors have the Sacramento Kings and then the Trailblazers. So, I think it's going to be interesting because the Kings against the Warriors, that's a very funny game to me because who do the Kings want to play? Are they going to want to rest against the Golden State Warriors? Do they want to play the Warriors or the Clippers? I think they'd want to play the Clippers instead of the Warriors. And I think the Clippers would want to play the Kings instead of the Suns. I think the Warriors would rather play the Kings rather than the Warriors. Rather than the Suns. So this is, I don't know. This is going to be unpredictable for me. I think the Clippers end up being the 5th seed, unfortunately. For me, because I want the Kawhi to, I'm a Kawhi fan. But I do think I don't know. They're just in the driver's seat to get that 5th. I think they just have 2 more winnable games. Unless there's but then the Lakers are, no, I don't think the Lakers are going to catch up to them. But yeah, I just think they have more winnable games than the Warriors do. Because I could see the Kings possibly winning against the Warriors in their next matchup. Yeah, I'm going to go with Clippers 5th seed, Warriors 6th seed. What do you guys think? Jerk, you first.
Yeah. I mean, I would love if the Suns would swerve the Clippers and they actually decide to play their guys in that last game and just blow them out and try to get them to the 6th seed. That would be, I would
love a Warriors Suns first round match. That'd be great.
It would be nice. But yeah, the Clippers have the advantage. They have the driver's seat. I mean, the Blazers have weirdly been playing actually fine enough.
That is true.
To say the very least. They beat the Timberwolves, which I mean, I know is not necessarily, it's not Atlas carrying the globe, but it's semi-impressive here. Yeah, I'll stick with you. You have just mainly for simplicity reasons, because also the Warriors more so than the Clippers, I think, because I think the Clippers have definitively beaten the Lakers in the season series. There is still an outside chance I think the Warriors could fall to the Lakers,
That is a good
and I think
point.
the Warriors have a bit more motivation here to try to win. And I
Very good
and
point.
I think if the Warriors have the motivation to win, I think the Clippers need to try to win these last two. So just barely, I would give it to the Clippers. But I don't know, man. I'm kind of leading to the Warriors as being the fifth seed, but I'll stick with the Clippers if it just keeps things simple for us. If Dame goes with the Clippers at 5, yeah.
This kid fucking fucks it up. Go ahead.
I will go with the Clippers at 5.
All right.
The Warriors are 6, obviously, but I do think the Lakers do have a chance to go over the Warriors. If the Warriors lose to the Kings and the Suns, rest their players versus the Lakers, because then that obviously opens it up. That'd be a great scenario, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Clippers stay at 5, Warriors stay at 6.
Hey man, this is kind of wild that this is gonna come down to like the last few games of the season. That's all I've asked from you. I mean, and go ahead.
No, my bad. Who would have thought the Portland Trailblazers would still impact the playoff picture despite being out of it, eh?
That is true. It's so funny that like those two teams like play them. This is gonna be. I'm genuinely interested. I just think even if it's the Clippers or the Warriors, I do think that Suns matchup for either team is gonna be a very cool first round series. I think it's gonna be really fun and entertaining. So that confirms our playoff matchup. So Nuggets versus the Mavericks, 1 versus 8. Grizzlies versus the Lakers, 2 versus 7. Kings versus the Warriors, based on our predictions, 3 versus 6. And then the Suns versus the Clippers, 4 versus 5. Nuggets versus the Dallas Mavericks. That conversation that a lot of people want to have. Because I know, despite the Denver Nuggets being the favorite here, Luka Doncic is on the other side. And there's a lot of Jokic doubters in the world right now. However, I do and you know what? There's a possibility. I think there's a possibility the Mavericks could win this series. I do think, however, them being the 10th seed, fighting and just having minimal rest here, I think fatigue's going to be a factor. I think the Denver Nuggets, and also they're going to be playing in Denver. Denver's the toughest place to play on the road. So add that into the fatigue factor into this. Denver are a really good defensive team. I know they've been very on and off this last portion of the season. I just think they'll figure it out eventually. I do think the Mavericks will have zero answers for Jokic, and I just think that the Denver's weapons will be way too overwhelming, especially for that Mavericks defense. No, again, I have them being the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. I was gracious there. I think it stops here. You're going against the Denver Nuggets. Luka, I think will give you at least one game. And they're going to capitalize on how kind of iffy the Nuggets have been towards the end of the season. But I think the Nuggets overwhelm them here. So I got the Denver Nuggets in 6. I have the Denver Nuggets in 6. Dame?
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Denver Nuggets in 6 as well. It hurts me to agree with Chris so many times.
Nice.
But I do also think the Mavs do have a chance to win this game. Can't really trust the Nuggets and Jokic in the playoffs, but and Luka clearly turns it to another level in the playoffs. I think he's like the highest average scorer in the playoff history or something like that. But I just think their defense just isn't enough to be able to stop that Nuggets team. Whether you trust them or not, it's the first round. Nuggets are going to be well rested. The Mavs are going to be coming off 2, I think, tough playing games. Luka obviously has been banged up all year, and he's clearly not in the best of shape. Kyrie also isn't very trustworthy. You don't know what's going to happen in the world. He might sit out that game or a couple games in that series. But just from a defensive standpoint, I just don't think they have enough to be able to hold the Nuggets down to a point where they can outscore them. So I'm going to go with the Nuggets in 6. But crazier things have happened. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Luka just goes for averaging 35, 10, and 10, and Kyrie averaging 30, and they just overpower the Nuggets with their firepower this series. But I'm just going to stick with the Nuggets here.
To me, it's the Nuggets. I'm highly, and when I say entertained, I mean it's sarcastic, by the idiots that really are going to harp on Jokic on this one. For a guy who's been losing his weapons the last 2 seasons and still being as good as he is.
Thank you, Jerk.
You people need to get over yourselves.
Thank you, Drew.
Anyways, Nuggets are winning this series. I will say 6 only because of the talent on the other team. If it's somehow the Wolves or the Pelicans, I'll say Nuggets over the Pelicans in 5, and the Nuggets are sweeping the Minnesota Timberwolves out of our lives. But yes, the Mavericks have the talent to be able to compete, but ultimately, if Jamal Murray can finally return to that playoff form that we saw a few seasons ago, even if it's a little bit more like 23, 24 points per game, which he has done in postseasons past, even not including the bubble for people that are about to point that out. The year before that, Jamal Murray had a pretty good run as well. I think that Denver can definitely win this series. I think the first round belongs to them. It's just all about who are they facing in the second round, because the second round matchup is, I think, when you need to start having the conversation about, could Denver lose in these playoffs, but not the first. Come on, you people need to get over yourselves with the first round stuff. It's Denver easily.
All right, beautifully said, Jurg. Okay, 2 versus 7, Grizzlies versus Lakers. Ooh, I'm rubbing my hands together, baby, and I can't believe I'm doing this. No. I can't believe I'm rooting for said team. I'll be rooting for the Lakers because fuck the Memphis Grizzlies, fuck Ja Morant, fuck Dillon Brooks. And you know what? I'm going to go with the Lakers in 7.
I love it.
Maybe 6. Again, I think this team is clicking in all cylinders here. I don't know what the status report is on Steven Adams. I just don't think they'll have an answer for Anthony Davis. Now, things could happen. Things will probably happen. But I think there is an opportunity here for LeBron James and Anthony Davis to just overwhelm these little rats in Memphis. Again, no disrespect to Memphis. I have this series going in 7. But, Ja Morant will do his thing. I just think the Lakers are clicking here. And they're clicking at the right time. LeBron, again, like we saw with Jimmy Butler, enters a different stratosphere when it comes to the playoffs. And I just think experience here will overwhelm the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think LeBron experience is different than other playoff experience because I just think he knows what to do. Like, I know Dillon Brooks will do what he can to kind of quote-unquote frustrate LeBron and the other Lakers, but I don't know, man. I just like the Lakers here. And I think LeBron will go off. If Anthony Davis if Anthony Davis could go through this whole series without any knick-knack injuries, it's gonna be theirs to win. Excuse me. I think it'll be important for D'Angelo Russell to step up. I do think so. Just because I don't know what's gonna happen with Davis. I do think it's important for them to kind of have that third score. Russell's been kind of ass in his playoff career, but I don't think he's not gonna be asked to do as much as he did in those other playoff series that he was in. LeBron will find him. He'll have opportunities to play with the ball in his hands when LeBron's out, when LeBron's sitting out. I got to go with the Lakers here, man. I just think LeBron there's blood in the water, and he smells it. And Anthony Davis has been, as of now, like he has been playing really good for the last month. I mean, he always plays good when he's healthy, but that's when is very, use that loosely. I'm going with Lakers in 7. Maybe 6. Jurg, talk to me. Am I crazy?
Lakers in 7. Let's go.
Oh, you got him? Or
Lakers in 7, baby.
Nice.
Let's do it. I don't think there's an individual on that Memphis Grizzlies team that could match LeBron in an elimination game / game 7. I think if Anthony Davis can finally be fully healthy, I think he will eat this Memphis team alive inside. Aside from Jaren Jackson Jr., I want to give respect to the
that is true.
Award
but
favorite.
He be fouling so much, bro.
He gets away with a lot. I will say that. And I think in the NBA playoffs, I think it feels weird to say this. I mean, the refs have been so bad this season, so God knows how it's going to be officiated. But I could see Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to get into foul trouble this series. I think personally, D'Angelo Russell being that perfect. I think D'Lo's been great playing off of LeBron and AD. I think that'll continue in the playoffs compared to having to play off of Anthony Edwards and Cat last season in the playoffs. I think Jared Vanderbilt has been great defensively. This Memphis Grizzlies team the last 2 years, what aspect of them makes them overwhelming? Like, legitimately, I'm asking that as a question because normally with top seeds, there's something overwhelming about them. The Boston Celtics are a complete team. You have the 2-star wings. You have a very good guy off the bench in Malcolm Brogdon, who's a veteran. You have the defensive annoying pest in Marcus Smart, who will annoy you. He'll foul you. He will get you off your game. And they have a good coach in Joe Mazzulla. I want to give him his credit. The Bucks have Giannis. Moving on. The Denver Nuggets at least have the back-to-back reigning MVP. You could say what you want about them. That's the back-to-back reigning MVP. What does this Memphis Grizzlies team have compared to those other teams? What do they have? I think it's not even close. They are not, to me, they have not been on the tier of the other elite teams over the last 2 seasons. I think they've always been that tier 2 team, even when did they finish top in the West last season? Were they first seed or second?
And second, because I think they played the Wolves.
Copy. So I think that ultimately in the postseason, without having a definitive defining trait to make you a dominant upper seed, I think that makes you susceptible to a series like this, where if the other team matches up against you really well, that's great. I think the Grizzlies, like, they could try to talk as much crap as they want. Dylan Brooks could try to get in over his head as much as he wants. Ja Morant could try to pretend to be as hard as he is. At the end of the day,
Both losers.
LeBron and AD are staring at you. And the amount of just BS and talk that those two have had to hear over the last 2 seasons, since they've actually won a championship, unlike you, Memphis, who is, they have the bluster and bravado of a team that's actually made it deep in the playoffs when they haven't. I think there's a lot of motivation for this Lakers team, especially LeBron and AD, to pull off such an upset. I'm going with the Lakers in 7 in the series. Because again, to me, Memphis as a home court means nothing. I think LeBron and AD can mitigate that very much so.
Yep.
When you have those two calm players who have won a championship, and LeBron who's won game 7s in Boston, who's won game 7s in away arenas before, like, come on, bro. Don't be ridiculous with this. It's the Lakers. If the Grizzlies let this series go deep, it's
done.
It's done. They need to finish them in
Quick.
5.
Yep.
They need to give the killing blow early. And we saw this against the Minnesota Timberwolves last season. I don't think they know how to give a killing blow. I think they know how to take advantage of a team that makes too many mistakes, because Minnesota blew 20-point leads like in 3 games of last year's series. The Lakers aren't going to do that 3 times. They're not. Maybe once, but not 3 times. Lakers in 7. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the Lakers in 7. I do think it's going to be a hard-fought series. But remember, you always got to give game 1 to the opposing team when you're playing LeBron in the playoffs. It's usually a feel-out game for them. Pretty sure they lost like every game 1 with their last championship, the bubble championship. So they're going to be playing from behind. And I just think at the end of the day, like you guys said, it's just LeBron and AD. I don't think Memphis has anyone to match them, whether it's the regular season or postseason. I think they're going to be a dominant force, especially in the playoffs where they know, like, now's the time, now it counts. Yeah, I mean, the AD should average 30. LeBron should average 30. All the role players should be able to have good games as well. And Memphis just all year has been talking all this hot shit, and I think this is finally when it ends. I think, although a lot of people root against LeBron and the Lakers, I think this is going to be a series where they're going to be rooting against the Grizzlies and for the Lakers, because the Grizzlies have become so hated because they're just such little herbs that just act like they're some crazy dynasty that's won so much and everybody should fear them when they literally haven't done shit. All they do is win regular season games. I mean, I'm sure Ja's going to have a great series. Usually stars do against the Lakers, but overall, I just think LeBron and AD are just going to be too much for the Grizzlies to handle.
Can we just really quick have like a very it's only got to be like 30 seconds at most discourse, because like we try to cover all the sports and we miss some of the things. Who do the Grizzlies think they are trying to be like this kind of team? Like, who does Dylan Brooks think he is? Who does Ja Morant think he is? Like, can someone like?
But here's the thing. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because we're like an hour and 7.
Right.
Ja, I think of those two has, a little bit more merit.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk. I don't want to talk about what's going on with his personal life.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's a bird. I think he's a bozo. I've never been a fan of him. I know, like, he's appealing to like the younger crowd because like he does interesting and entertaining stuff. Whatever. Like, I guess because like Ja Morant's one of the elite players in the NBA, you have some type of merit to be chatting. Brooks, I don't take it seriously as other people. I think it's funny because like he sucks and like he's talking so much, but like I don't know. We need villains. It's funny when role players embrace the villain role because like they're role players. That's the thing. It's for me, it's entertainment because like it's gonna be so fun to watch Dylan Brooks try to shit talk LeBron in a playoff series. Because Jerk, I think you bring up a good point. There are certain players in the NBA. I'd put Steph and KD in this category, maybe even Luka to an extent, that kind of negate road like the team being on the road, right? Does not matter if you're like at home against these certain players. LeBron has that type of aura that just kind of cancels that out. But yeah, like you said, I don't take stock into the Grizzlies just talking shit. Like they're all losers, and until they win, I mean, you can say that about everyone, but like
Yeah.
I haven't seen like someone chat like this much shit
Yeah,
for being.
they're
I
acting
don't
like
know.
they're going for a three-peat. Like that's just the confusing thing for me.
And they're a decent team. Like I want to root for them because they have built and developed the right way, but man, they make it difficult. I don't care for them. I hope the Lakers win. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I'm with you.
Okay, next playoff matchup: Kings versus Warriors. Fellas, I think this is going to be a very fun and interesting series. I don't think this is going to be easy for the Warriors. I understand the experience factor into this. Kings, congratulations. You made the playoffs for the first time in a while. It's not a stray. Me and Jerk have been actually supportive of you guys the last few years. I've been a big fan of the Kings since like 2017. Not a big fan, but I've actually liked them for a bit. I understood what they were trying to do. Kind of took a backseat after Dave Yeager got fired. Now they're in the playoffs now, and they're in the 3 seed, so credit must be given. Run and gun style, they're going to try to tire teams out. They're going to try to outscore other teams. They're not going to play defense. I don't think this is going to be easy for the Warriors. I do not think it's going to be easy for them. But I'm just going to. Warriors, I'm never going to count out until they get officially eliminated, man. They're just one of those teams. Warriors in 6. Warriors in 6. But I think it's going to be a very fun playoff series. Is there a part of me that would not be surprised if the Kings win the series? No, I don't think so. But championship pedigree, Steph Curry, Kings aren't going to be able to defend a lick here. I just think the Warriors know when it's go time, and I think I don't know, they're not going to be able to bully the Kings as much as a lot of people think, in my opinion. But yeah, Warriors in 6. Warriors in 6. I think it's very high scoring games, very high scoring series. So, Dame, what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a high scoring series. Clearly the Kings are the highest scoring team in the NBA all season long, and the Warriors. I mean, it's the playoffs now. I think they'll get it together. Although I don't think they're really that championship contending team they have been in the past. They have a lot of weaknesses from their defense to their chemistry and all that stuff. But I think they'll be able to take care of the series in 6 as well. I think Steph Curry, Draymond Green, all these guys that have been there, done that, are going to be locked in. All their defenses might give up 140. I think they'll be able to score 150 if need be. I think Steph is going to have an all-time kind of series. But yeah, Kings are definitely impressive. Wouldn't be surprised if they somehow, I would say upset, even though it wouldn't be because clearly the Kings are the 3rd seed. But I wouldn't be surprised if they upset the Warriors here because of how impressive they've been all year and how everyone's been doubting them. And yet, time after time, they've overcome it and proved people wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if they prove people wrong again. But I'm just going to lean with the experience and the star power in the Warriors here.
Light the beam, baby. Kings in 7. I think that the Sacramento Kings. I have loved what the Sacramento Kings have been on the run. I was a little shaky with them with the play-in predictions in the preseason. I forget if I had them in the play-in or just missing out, but I loved the roster construction. I was a massive fan. I liked the fact when they did get Sabonis. I didn't like the fact they had to give up Tyrese Halliburton in that deal, but ultimately, Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox are a great duo. I think they've surrounded those two guys with guys who could shoot, with guys who can defend a little bit. Obviously, they're not an amazing defensive team, which I think the Warriors is why I'm saying it'll go to 7, where I think the Warriors could win the series because the Warriors are the Warriors are probably the toughest defensive matchup they'd have to deal with in terms of facing a team in the first round, just in terms of IQ and stuff like that. But I just think there's been way too much injury and inconsistency in the lineup for them to just pick it up like that. I think Wiggins missing so much time and just I think the flaws started to show deep in the playoffs last season, but I think they were able to mitigate it enough. I don't think they're going to get away with it that easy because I think Mike Brown being the coach of this Kings team, he's got them playing so good. This is the best season like at all the main pieces on that Kings team have had in their careers for the most part. I think they're just playing a great team style, which I think is what you need to face the Warriors early in the playoffs. I think a team-orientated game, the exception being LeBron, of course, in the playoffs, but I think a team-orientated game like the Kings have is what could give the Warriors trouble. There's not one specific guy that you can shut down and you'll definitively beat Sacramento, because Sabonis, like, he, aside from Jokic, he's the best passing big man in the NBA, not named Nikola Jokic. Sabonis is a very talented offensive player. De'Aaron Fox has been on a mission. He's got something to prove. If he's not on an all-NBA team, then the voters should just get their votes taken away, because these people are a disgrace if he's not an all-NBA team this season. I think that the Kings are young, they're talented, and hungry, and I don't think the quote-unquote idea of a team being too young, we can't always use that as a crutch for them to lose in the playoffs against the more experienced team, because we're starting to see here and there some young teams go on runs in the postseason. It's still rare, but I don't think you could just say youth and inexperience will take you away anymore. Remember, Donovan Mitchell's first playoffs, he defeated a playoff team. I think it was like his first playoffs with the Jazz. They beat, was it not Russell Westbrook and Paul George? 2 years ago, the Atlanta Hawks, first time that team made the playoffs. I think first time half that team was in the postseason, and they made it to the conference finals. Which, I mean, it included a Doc Rivers choke job along the way, but regardless, they made it to the conference finals. Like, young teams can win in the playoffs, and they can win early. If this Warriors team was a little bit healthier, if they had Wiggins and these guys back for a little longer period of time, like if they had 5 more games to play in the regular season, I would pick the Warriors. But I don't think you can just throw these guys back into the playoffs and say, hey, you got to play more into the system now. Hey, you got to do this. Hey, you got to do that. Hey, Draymond, you got to stop being an idiot and actually, focus more so on the court than anything else. Because we know Draymond's going to record podcasts after every single game. And I can't wait to watch that podcast episode where they lose in Game 7 and he just blames the refs the entire time. But I got the Kings winning this in 7 games. This is not disrespect to the Warriors. This is just, I really think the Sacramento Kings team is supremely talented. And I think they could shock people. And like Dame said, we're talking about this like it's an upset, but it's not. So I got him with that.
All right, final series, Suns versus Clippers. Another potential banger of a series here. I'm going to assume PG will not be back for this first round. I got the Suns in 6. I just think Kevin Durant and Devin Booker will be a bit too overwhelming. I do think Kawhi's going to have to do double duty here and pick up the slack that they have because PG is not there. I do think it'll be tough for him. Fatigue will definitely play a factor. Would not be surprised if the Clippers also win this series, actually, just because I don't trust Chris Paul. Could go back and forth. Could go 7 even, but I'm just going to go with KD and Devin Booker overwhelming them. I would love for the Clippers to win. I would love for Phoenix to get bounced in the first round. But I don't know. No, like this is like the first playoff series I've seen where Kawhi is like the main factor in his team. Like with no one else, no star beside him in a while. So maybe he could like turn back the clock. I always thought the Spurs could have been the Warriors in 2017 if he was healthy, but that's neither here nor there. Phoenix Suns in 6, maybe 7. Would not be surprised if Clippers win as well. If PG comes back, maybe there's a shot that I think the Clippers could win in 6, but I don't see that happening. I think it's a knee sprain, I believe, that he had, and he's going to get reevaluated soon, I believe. I don't know. It's tough to come back from knee sprains, especially with Paul George. So I think they're going to play it safe and not play him. But yeah, I got the Suns in 6. Could be back and forth. I think it's going to be a very fun, interesting series. But again, I just think the star power here is going to overwhelm the Clippers, who I don't even trust that much. So yeah, Dame?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Suns here. I think the Clippers just aren't that good ever since Russell Westbrook joined that team. Obviously, the Paul George injury hurts as well, and it just seems like the Clippers just play their best game against the Lakers, but clearly they're not going to be playing the Lakers here. I'm going with the Suns in 6. I wouldn't be surprised if the Suns finish them off in 5. I just think the Suns have way too much for the Clippers to handle from KD, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker. I just don't think the Clippers have enough firepower to match that. Russell Westbrook he's going to average 8 points, 8 turnovers a game, shooting like probably 32% from the field. We're going to have a lot of bonehead plays. And the Suns I think they're just meshing right now. Have they even lost a game since KD? I don't think so. I don't
think so either.
With KD.
He's only played like 4 or 5 games, but you are correct.
Yeah, I just think in this series, obviously, if I have him 6, I think they're going to lose. But I just think he just fits in so perfectly with this team, which is already pretty good, and he just takes them to another level. So I just think they're going to dominate the Clippers in this series in 6, maybe even 5.
Yeah, I got the Suns winning this series. Paul George being out, I mean, I think he's going to try to get his way back into this series late, but would it be too little too late by the time that comes in? Again, it is all about the reevaluation period. We'll see about that, but I do give the Suns the edge here. I think Kevin Durant being here now for Phoenix, it is massive. I think that, he just transitioned so seamlessly, so smoothly onto a team to play with guys offensively. I think him and D-Book is a good duo. Chris Paul, Chris, the thing with CP3 now is that he doesn't need to be
Yeah.
the second guy. And honestly,
Mhm.
some nights he might only need to be the fourth guy. Because if DeAndre Ayton has a game where he's just eating Zubac alive, which is very much a possibility, they could just feed him and it could work inside outside between him and D-Book or him and KD. I have the Suns as an overwhelming winner here. I'll say 6. I don't know why. I don't even like Kawhi Leonard that much, but I will say
Watch your
6.
mouth, sir.
No, I don't like him. I think he's skated away with way too much in his career. I think he's overrated. And when the Clippers lose the series in 6, I'll be very happy about it.
He is
He's not-
overrated, and no superstar has been more protected than Kawhi Leonard.
Thank you, Dame. All right, yeah, Suns in
Fucking
6.
losers.
Suns in 6, just so we can move on in this episode.
That's it, I believe, right?
Yeah,
the last
that's all the
series?
playoffs.
Okay. All right, clowns. Awards time. Predictions time. They didn't announce finalists for the awards, did they?
No, not yet. I think that comes deeper,
No.
but we could just
Okay.
go with our winners.
So we have Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP of the Year, and what was there's 6. Well, am I missing another one?
Most
MVP,
improved.
defensive player,
Most
rookie-
improved. There you go. Okay. Coach of the Year. How about we make this fun? We make on 3. We say who our Coach of the Year is.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Mike
Brown.
Wow, all unison.
Yes.
Mike Brown. Yeah. I mean, look, Sacramento Kings first playoff appearance in
17 years.
16 years. 3rd seed. He has transformed that team. They're looking like a legitimate threat to anyone they play in the playoffs. I like the Sacramento Kings. I think I speak for all of us. We don't have to, we don't have to talk too much into it. Yeah, any additional comments, or should we move on?
He helped bring the two faces of that team to being all-stars this season and all NBA caliber players. You do that as a coach, big W.
All right, Rookie of the Year on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Paolo.
Paolo Banchero. Boom, easy. He has been awesome. I remember the discussions that Jabari Smith Jr. was going to be the first overall pick, and I was like, wow, I can't believe Banchero was going first. I mean, I had Banchero going 3rd, but he ended up going 1st, and man, wow, did they make the right pick. That boy is averaging 20 points a game on 42.7% shooting, 7 rebounds, 3.7 assists. They have their face of their franchise. He is so good, man. Wow. I did not expect him to be this good, this fast. He's crazy.
He's the guy on that team.
He is that guy.
The Rookie of the Year award, it doesn't have to do with team record unless the top 2 candidates are maybe
Thank
going
God,
into
by the
postseason. It's all about stats. He's leading all rookies in scoring. I think is he not leading them in rebounding, or at least top 2 or top 3 in rebounding?
Well, I mean, they have so many wings and big men on that team that I don't know. But 7 rebounds a game is nothing to scoff.
He's the guy. At the end of the day, he is the guy for the Orlando Magic. He's the number 1 piece going forward, and he's played the number 1 overall pick this season. It's him. He's Rookie of the Year.
All right. Okay. Most improved player of the year. This one could go either way. I've been saying 1, 2, 3, so let's just go with that. 1, 2, 3.
Laurie
Brunson. Wow, I think we all had different answers. Jerk, who'd you say?
Lauri Markkanen.
Okay, Jerk, Dame, you said?
Shy.
Okay, I said Jalen Brunson. I don't think they're gonna give the Shy just because I think Shy's kind of already been a star. I get what you're saying, Dame. He is transformed to a legitimate all-star. Who isn't he just 30 points a game?
Yeah, he went from 24.5 to 31.5. He improved his field goal percentage from 45 to 51, 3-point from 30 to 35, and free throw from 81 to 91.
This dude's averaging 31.5 a game. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've been a massive Shy fan. I just because we've talked about this before, it's the travel, it's the distance you've made, from where you were before to where you are now. I had Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is good. He has now become, I guess, the face of the Knicks. He's become that guy for the Knicks. He's been awesome, man. For someone who's been skeptical about that contract we gave him, I'm eating those words crazily. He has been awesome for the Knicks. He has, again, I don't know how he'd look without Luka, and he has made me look like an absolute fool. So yeah, I do think Lauri Markkanen wins this award though. From where he was to where he is now,
I was going to say, if you want to talk about stat increases, he went from 14.8 to 25.6. He went from 5.7 rebounds to 8.6 rebounds. He's going to have a new career high in field goal percentage and free throw percentage. And even though it's not going to be a career high in 3-point percentage, he's averaging 2 more 3-pointers attempted made per game than from the season where he had his career high in percentage. Like he has made actual like definitive markable improvements for Markkanen. He's like on that Utah team, he's kind of been like he's part of the reason why Utah is not in the Wemby race.
Yes, yes.
It's like Colin Sexton flamed out a little bit. Other guys on that team are like THT has had like 5 good games this season. Like Lauri Markkanen has been the most consistent guy, and he like look. I'm not saying SGA and Jalen don't deserve it, but again, I think it's a thing where this is for the guys who take that leap. Those guys are good. They're getting more touches. They're getting more opportunities. I always thought Jalen Brunson was a 20-point per game player. It was just harder to do next to Luka. SGA is a star bordering on superstar. Like this is respectfully, this is not an award for these kinds of players. This is an award for the guys that are actually making improvements. How like if most improved player was supposed to be for superstars, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, more of those guys would have won most improved if we're just going based off of that mark. Like this should go to the guys who are actually improving, that are going from role players to all-stars, from barely in the league to 6-man of the year caliber players like Jordan Poole did a year ago, and he didn't get it for whatever reason. Well, actually, Tyler Hero got it, so never mind about that. But you get what I mean. Like it's for that.
Yeah, for sure. I also didn't think Utah expected this from him as well.
Oh, they did not. You know, Danny Ainge is pissed that happened.
Yeah. He kind of halted their plans. All right, that's 3 awards, I believe.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Let's do 6th man of the year
Mhm.
on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Bobby
Emmanuel
Portis.
Quickley. Who'd you say, Jerk?
Bobby Portis.
Okay. What's your reasoning on that?
14-9 on the being the best bench player on the best team in the league record wise. Like that's pretty good. A very good defensive player as well. I think alongside Giannis and Brook Lopez, he's no slouch. He's the 3rd best defender on that team. Again, 14-9 off the bench for the best team in the league. Like every freaking year we consider the best team in the league their best bench player. We're not going to consider that for the Bucks this season. That's kind of a joke. Bobby Portis has become a piece on a championship team that teams have highly coveted. He deserves to be in the conversation. I think he'll win it.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win it, actually. I don't even think he'll be the runner-up. I think this should go to Quickley. He has given the Knicks an identity. He literally transforms the style of play for the Knicks once he gets on the court. They play quicker. He's actually a decent defender from what I've seen. I watch their games intensively, of course. I think he's a better playmaker than Brunson. Like, I think he actually gets everyone involved. He just gives the Knicks an identity when he's on the court. I just think the vibes are better. There's a shift in energy. Their offense just changes when he's on the court. I know Brunson does his thing, but like I just love watching Emmanuel Quickley play basketball for them, man. And like he's had to like start a lot of games, so maybe that kind of brings him back in this discussion. But oh my God, it should definitely go to Quickley. Wow, I need the Knicks to re-sign him ASAP. He has been on a scoring tear as well, but I think the defensive element to his game has really he's entered a new stratosphere because of that element that he's added to his game in the defensive end. And yeah, for a long time I thought it would be Brogdon, but I don't think so. I think Quickley took it, especially those performances the last few weeks. Dame, you said Quickley as well?
Yeah, I said Quickley as well. There's just too many games where he just goes absolutely nuts, and like I just don't see that from these other contenders. Like, yeah, they're great role players, 6 men for their team, but when they get their opportunity in a bigger moment and more minutes, more shots, they don't put up the performances that Emmanuel Quickley does.
I'm 100% with you. I think Quickley should win this award. I have a bad feeling they're going to give it to Brogdon. Bad feeling.
He deserves it. He's had a great season off the bench.
Well, I mean, I think Quickley deserves it. But Brogdon, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be, like, totally pissed. I mean, a Celtic would win it, so I would be pissed. But, like, I think Quickley, the last month has solidified it for him. For me, at least. He has just been off the charts. Oh, my God, he's so awesome. So, yeah, 2 Quickley, 1 Portis. Would not be surprised if Brogdon wins. All right, Defensive Player of the Year on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Jaren
Brook
Jackson
Lopez.
Jr.
Dame, who'd you say?
Jaren Jackson.
Okay. I mean, I had Brook Lopez. I Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Jaren Jackson is the reason why. Like, he's the sole reason why. He is the Memphis Grizzlies defense. He is so good. He commits a lot of dumb fouls, but man, does he make life hell for the opposing team's best player. I would not be surprised if he wins it. He just needs to be a little bit more disciplined. Brooke Lopez, what like that dude has been playing basketball since all of us were in elementary school, right?
It's so true.
And he was just a scorer, especially in the post. Now he's turned into like a 3-and-D player. And wow. I mean, shout out to him for like changing it up and just adjusting to this new phase of the NBA. And it's resurrected his career. And yeah, for me, he should be defensive. I mean, he is going to be in the running for defensive player of the year. I always think Bam Adebayo gets snubbed in these awards.
Oh,
I just don't think they never give it to him, man. At this point,
he's gonna consistently be third place because we're just gonna give it to guys who do sometimes less than him or guys that have the flashier stats than him. I've accepted it. He's never gonna get defensive player of the year because we want to give it to everyone. We want to give it to Rudy fucking Gobert 3 times and not Bam Adebayo once. But okay.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys have any comments about your Jaren Jackson pick?
No.
No, I'm with Dame. Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he's leading the league in blocks, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of,
He
if
is?
not the best. I think he is, or he's at least close to it. He's averaging 3 a game, I want to say. People were trying.
3. Yep.
Yeah, people were trying to say earlier in the season that they were overcounting his blocks in Memphis. That
Oh, right.
they were not.
that
No,
thing.
they were not. Those are people that were just that was
Fucking Reddit.
that was too early on the Memphis hate. Jaren Jackson Jr. does not deserve it. He's a patron saint compared to John Morant and Dylan Brooks annoying this.
Yeah.
Triple J has made massive strides. He honestly could be a most improved player of the year candidate. I think he was last
True.
season, so maybe that's why he's not. But Triple J has been an amazing defender. He's the only big man that I would accept. Him and Robert Williams are the only 2 big men I would accept ever winning over Bam. And I think this season it belongs to Triple J.
Does that leave the MVP award?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. That's the last one.
Okay. On 3. 1, 2. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3.
Embiid.
Yeah.
Joel
Giannis.
Embiid. To be honest, Jurg,
Thank God.
I think there's gonna be voter fatigue for Giannis. Realistically, I do think Giannis should win.
Can I go on like a quick rant? Because I accept, I'm fine with Joel Embiid winning, but I'm so sick and tired of making the fucking excuses for guys of why they shouldn't win. Oh,
Yeah,
they
no, I
didn't go
agree.
deep enough in the postseason. Oh, we've already voted him to win so many times. I don't give a shit how many times he's won it before. If he's the MVP, he's the MVP. If you want to pick Joel Embiid, I'm perfectly fine with that. Keep it to this season. Keep it to basketball. Don't tell me what happened last season in the playoffs. Don't tell me what happened 3 years ago. Don't tell me the fact that you don't like the fact he's already won 2 in a row. Enough with that. These joke analysts and these joke fucking voters who are denying guys who deserve these awards, I'm sick of it. I'm not saying Joel Embiid doesn't deserve it. That's not why I'm not picking him. I think Giannis has a very good case, but enough of making excuses. I know you two have real reasons. I'm saying in general, enough making excuses to give someone else the MVP. Just tell me why he's the MVP. Please.
You're right. Dude, I 100% agree. That's my issue with this whole thing is that it's not becoming a best player of the season award. And maybe you can make the case like it's never been like that, but now we're getting off the grid. I 100% agree with you, Jurg, because now I think every person has, I mean, Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid all have like a solid case to win MVP. But like, my issue is if you're giving me a case as to why you think X player should be MVP, don't go off on a tangent and make it seem like you're slandering the other one. The way people talk about Jokic, and obviously I'm not putting you guys in that standard. Maybe I'm just joking, but like people,
that's fine. You put me in that.
In the Embiid praise, like it always, and I blame Nick Wright for this shit, but like it's like when you praise a player, like why does it automatically lead to like slandering the other player? Because and I don't even want to get into like analysts like Perk who are like include race into this. Like what are we doing at this point? It's getting a little ridiculous. I'm fine with Embiid winning MVP. My issue is don't slander other players, especially when it's not warranted as much. Don't slander it just to like kind of juice up your narrative. I just don't think it's right because now I just see people like talk down to Jokic as if he's a scrub. I know they don't think he's a scrub, but like, why does it make it like it seems like you're saying that sometimes
There's
by the
too many
way?
casual fans that think their opinion matters, and too many of these analysts. And hold on, let's advance this even to basketball YouTube for a second. There are some
Oh
basketball
God.
YouTubers that people think are good that they're really not that good, and that they just make up these excuses. Can we get back to conversations being this good? We all have, you two have Embiid, I have Giannis. Jokic belongs in the conversation. We should be talking about the fact how amazing it is that these three front court players have been dominating the MVP discussion for the last
Mhm.
5 seasons, and it should stop at that. But no, we have to bring up other factors into it. I'm done with this stuff. This is why, like, I like the award discussion, but when I have to see other people have it, when I can't have it with other level-headed people, I'm just done with it because, like, there's no reason. If you're not, I know you said it, Chris, but like, just some of these people just don't deserve to be fucking speaking about any of this stuff. They don't.
I think it's just they need something to talk about. Like it just I don't know, man. Like they're making something out of nothing.
Be good or
And I think
entertaining then. Be good or entertaining at your job if you're going to talk about it, then please.
I don't think, and like I think Jokic is checked out by the way from all this talk. I don't think he gives a shit anymore. Yeah, I'm happy Embiid's winning it. Just so we could get this shit out of the way. Just take it at this point. Like, yeah, I think he also deserves it just because like I think he's outplayed Jokic in like the second half of the season. We're done here. Whatever. Just give it to Embiid. He'll get smoked in the second round, and then the discussion should be about him now winning. Like it should be for Jokic as well.
So will Jokic.
What'd you say?
Jokic will get smoked in the second round as well.
Okay, but Embiid hasn't even been to a conference final. Like, why isn't that like a thing? Like Embiid's a loser too. Like he hasn't won shit
They're
either.
both losers.
All right, but like, why does one get chastised more? And especially for someone who's actually been further. But whatever. This is a regular season award. I will give it to Embiid. But like, let's stop slandering other players in this. I mean, at the end of the day, Giannis is going to compete for a championship. But again, that's not the discussion here. It's the most valuable award for the regular season. Let's take it easy on some of these players, man. Shout out to my international players for all being like finalists as well. These three should be like going forward. They're gonna be
These three and Luca,
MVP.
they're
Yeah,
going to dominate the MVP conversation for the next decade.
well, Luca, unfortunately, I just think team success is gonna hold him back. But whatever.
If the Mavericks had stayed on pace, Luca would be my MVP. I'm just saying.
Oh, for sure. But they might not make the playoffs. But
Well,
okay. That's it for NBA talk, right?
well, does Dame want to say anything?
Yeah. Do you?
Well, I just think it's a two-guy race for Giannis and Embiid. But the reason I just lean with Embiid, he is leading the league in scoring. I do think just like that narrative of just being the league leader in scoring does mean something. And I just feel like both these guys miss games. Like it's not like one misses more than the other. Both these guys do miss games. But I just feel like Embiid's absence hurts the Sixers more than Giannis's absence hurts the Bucks, and that's why I give the edge to Embiid. I just think he's more dominant. He affects his team more than Giannis does.
Okay.
That's perfectly fine. He gave a legitimate reason, unlike some of these yahoos that talk behind microphones.
Like they're both dominant on both sides of the ball as well. It's just it's hard to pick between. I wouldn't be mad if Giannis gets it. I do think voter fatigue does play a part in it, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. We've seen it for so many years with LeBron, and now it's gonna happen with Giannis. I mean, the guy's averaging 31, 12, and 6. Like that's MVP in any other year. But I do think this is a year where like Embiid has shown how actually dominant he is and how he absolutely controls games at times and how valuable he is to the 76ers, which is why I'd slightly lean Embiid, but I would not be mad at all if they give it to Giannis.
Giannis, I think, is at that point of his career where I also don't think he cares as much. Like, championships need to be a priority here. Like, come on, bro. At some point, like, if you win it, I get it. Embiid hasn't won before, so maybe, like, it means a little bit more to him. But, bro, I mean, when you're on that stratosphere, bro, let's look at championships.
No, Chris,
Let's look at
Chris, that's fair, but that should be his mindset. Like the people as voters, that shouldn't just be their mindset. Like,
No, for sure. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Giannis is at that point where he shouldn't give a fuck
right.
about MVP.
I don't think he does.
He's just so good that he'll just naturally be in discussion. Like, he's generational like that. But, like, I don't know, man. Some of these players, and I do think Embiid isn't there yet, but he should be eventually, where this shit should not matter to you. I get it. You haven't won it, so it'll mean more to you now. That's fine. But after this season, because I think he'll probably win it, we need to focus on chips, bro. Screw all this. Like, Kawhi hasn't won an MVP. Kawhi will never win an MVP. I don't think he wants to win an MVP. And I think it's like that mindset of just like, bro, I think a championship overshadows all. And it should be the main priority. But yeah, good discussion there at the end. We're done with NBA.
Speaking of main priority.
Huh?
Speaking of main priority here.
Yeah, main priority. We now do the order for our mock draft, our annual mock draft, the critically acclaimed mock draft series of ours. Is this our third or fourth one?
Third.
Wow, 3 years. Okay, so I will be mediating this mock draft. We have Jurg, we have Dame, we have Stu confirmed. We have an unconfirmed fourth name, but we'll have a fourth individual. We'll call him X for now. Now, a little bit of a heads up here. The Miami Dolphins don't own their first round pick, so one of these dudes will have one more pick than the other.
No, one. So whoever ends up getting the 4th overall pick will only be making 7 picks because there is no 32nd overall pick.
Yep. So confirmed that Jurg is smarter than me on the mathematical end.
I kind of hope I get the 4th pick just so it's less work for me.
That is true. That is true. And less highlights on my end too. Okay, let's spin the wheel. No matter what, I will get accused of nonsense.
I need the one pick.
Do we have a wheel spinning sound effect?
No.
Ah, damn it.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay. Wait, do we? All right. Let me.
Yeah, just spin it, Chris. Just spin.
Just spin the fucking wheel.
Fourth. This is for the 4th overall pick. I'm spinning now. 4th overall pick goes to. Can you hear anything or not?
No, I didn't hear a spin.
Nope.
4th pick goes.
Of course.
Dame.
Of course.
Dame.
Oh no! Oh no!
Sorry, Dame.
Fucking Colts. Colts, Falcons.
Oh wait,
Texans.
hold on, wait. Give me a second. I have it listed down here really fast.
So do I.
Okay, all right.
So
but Dame fire, less work though.
It's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28.
I mean, so this is gonna be a big pick for Stu. So, because he's a Colts fan.
Yeah, Stu's hopes and dreams are riding on your pick here, Dame.
Yeah. So Dame, the direction of this Colts is kind of in your hand.
All right.
Okay.
3rd pick.
All right. So who's left? Jurg, Stu, and X for the 3rd overall pick.
I don't want the 2nd pick, so just please first.
Here we go. We spin. The 3rd overall pick goes to Stu.
Ah, come on, man.
Wow. So Stu gets the Cardinals pick.
Yes.
Okay.
He gets 3, 7.
Cardinals, Vegas, Tennessee.
Oh Lord!
Oh boy!
Green Bay, Tampa, Minnesota, Buffalo, and Kansas City.
God, I feel bad for him. He has to pick for the Vikings and the Titans. Ooh.
Yeah, this is just a nightmare. I don't think he's gonna do it anymore. No, I'm just joking. All right, Jurg and X. This is for the 2nd pick.
Oh come on! Don't give me the 2nd pick. Don't give me this.
Okay, whoever this lands on gets the 2nd pick. Here we go. I'm spinning. The 2nd overall pick for the Houston Texans, Jurg's team, goes to. Oh boy!
No, come on! It better be X.
It's Jurg.
No, come on, Chris! Come on!
I'm sorry, bro. I was hoping it would. Oh man.
All right.
Fucking X.
All right. I will confirm it. I'm not picking a quarterback for the Texans. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, Texans, Lions, Eagles,
Ooh.
Patriots, Lions again.
Ooh.
The Ravens, Dallas, and Philly again.
See, here's the thing.
Philly twice and Lions twice.
I'm not mad about the teams I have to pick for. It's just I have been on the record saying I don't think the Texans should draft a quarterback this year. And it's going to make the mock very interesting, to say the very least.
That is true. So, whoever we try to convince to do the mock draft with us, we have a pretty enticing offer that they get the 1st overall pick.
And they have the Jets pick if they're a Jets fan.
That is true. That's a high possibility in knowing our circle. Yeah, so that's the order. Unknown X, 1st overall pick. 2nd overall pick goes to Jurg. 3rd pick goes to Stu. And then 4th pick goes to
These teams
Dame.
are so ass, bro. I'm spinning it next year. That's it.
Dame, I'm willing to negotiate if you can make it worth my while.
That is true. You guys could do that if you want.
I like Jurg's picks because he has 2 teams that pick twice.
Dame, we could talk about this post show. Post show.
Okay. All right. So that'll do it for this week. What a stacked and fun episode. Fellas, an honor, as always. You guys did amazing. Thanks for steering the ship with me. Jurg, where can they find us on the social?
Guys, you already know you can follow us at somewhat.sports on Instagram to get the latest updates of when podcast episodes are released. We're very active with that. And whenever graphics come out, I'm sure Chris is going to make a very lovely graphic in regards to all of our playoff predictions here. That will also be going up. When the playoffs officially are settled in, we will have graphics for that most likely. And of course, following the mock draft, we will have a graphic up of the 32 selections or 31 selections we actually make this year. That's at Somewhat.Sports. To listen to the podcast that you're already beautifully listening to itself, we appreciate it. Please follow us or go to the YouTube and Spotify, Somewhat Spaced in Sports. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please give us 5 stars on Spotify. Follow the show. Do all that good stuff. Please let us know what you want to hear more of. Let us know, do you want us to bring back more NBA? Because it's been a very long time. We talked hockey more recently than we talked about NBA on the show, which is very rare to say the very least. NFL is going to be dying down soon, so we're going to have all other sports taking over in the months of April, May, and June. What do you guys want to hear? Do you want us to be a bit more interesting? We have some clever ideas in the tank that maybe we'll bust one out in the summer. Who knows? Because, guys, it's getting close. The summer of 2023, third summer in a row where it's going to happen. It'll be the summer of the Somewhat Sports podcast, and we want all of you here for the ride.
Beautifully put as always, Jurgen. Beautifully put as always. To everyone listening, thank you if you made it this far. We appreciate you, Jurgen Dame. Always appreciate it. And until next time, peace.